Easter egg in my sweater today. But um, I am really excited to talk to Eva Chen about this book, I Am Golden. It's such a cute children's book. I got it yesterday, actually, and it came out this week. So she's on a full book tour, and I'm really excited. Oh, there she is. Hi.
Hi. Oh my God. I'm very on time and I still haven't even put my phone into the tripod yet. So
Oh my God. Look at these orchids behind you and these flowers. I love it.
they're gonna last for like 7 minutes. Orchids always die on me. I have like a brown thumb for orchids.
I
They're
know.
really hard, I think, to
I
keep
know. I
alive.
agree. Everybody says that they're the easiest to have and that
No,
everybody have them. But anyway, um,
false.
how is your, I mean, congratulations on this book. This is so, I was just reading it. It's so exciting. And, I love it. I read it myself to myself before I read it to my daughter later today, but I read it and I felt like, even as an adult reading it, I felt really empowered and like fired up reading it. So I love that it, the whole message, which I want to get to, of course, is to, celebrate, of course, Asian American Pacific Islander pride, but
Mhm.
also just to give kids the confidence in themselves that there's something golden in themselves, which I love.
Mm. Mhm.
And as a mom, I really appreciate as well.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, how is a COVID book tour? I was on book tour right before COVID and we were canceled. So how is it?
Wait, did you get to do a book tour or was it
No,
canceled?
my book came out on a Tuesday and the whole country shut down on that Thursday. So
No. Oh my God,
just,
I'm so sorry.
we were
It's
we were all on Instagram, thank God.
Oh, it's so hard, these book tours. So we were supposed to be on tour for 2 full weeks. We were supposed to be in Baltimore tonight, and just like every city right now, as you know, has different guidance. And so we were able to do an in-person event in DC last night, and one in Boston, and one in New York, but the rest of it was canceled, and it's all virtual.
Yeah.
And you know, the energy of if you are a bookish person, as I am, and like I nerd out from meeting authors, I love meeting like authors. It's funny because people are like, who do you want to meet? And I'm always like, I would love to meet this author. And they were like, no, don't, we thought you were going to say like Oprah or something. And I was like, well, that too. But anyway,
Yeah.
but it's been okay. It's like the energy is different because the rooms are smaller. They're all space constrained. So they're all limited to like 50 or 60 people. But it's so great. I mean, I love kids. I love reading to kids. Like to see their eyes like as you read, it just like really it's like very restorative in a way.
Yeah.
um and so it's been great to be able to be in front of kids again.
That's so sweet. I love that. Yeah. I just having done a children's book, it was always really fun to have kids at events and just like see the enthusiasm. So I'm sorry that some of it has been canceled, but I have no doubt that this book will be in the hands of tons of children everywhere very quickly. And I loved that also at the end of your book, you had a personal letter, but I want to talk a little bit about just your inspiration for writing this book because you wrote it during the pandemic.
I wrote this book during the pandemic. It's been a really hard 2 years for everyone, I think, like teachers, essential workers, frontline workers, doctors, nurses, just everyone. Let's just all acknowledge it's been terrible. Um, and for me and my family, it was a really hard time because I was really thinking a lot about my identity as a Chinese American. There were a lot of hate crimes that happened over the
Right.
last 2 years, a lot of Asian people being blamed for the virus, and a lot of the attacks in particular were targeting elders, like senior citizens. So, like grandmothers and grandfathers being hit over the head or being pushed in streets. And I have parents who are in their 70s who I like obviously am obsessed with and love dearly. And I remember calling them and telling them, wear sunglasses, wear hats, like don't speak Chinese on the street. And they're like, Eva, we live in New York City. It's like the safest place in the world to be, a minority. And I was like, just trust me. This is like, it's please like be careful. And
Mhm.
so it made me think because like, I have 3 kids now. I had a little COVID baby. And it made me think a lot about talking about these events with my kids. And, as parents, you want to protect your kids, but you want to raise them with pride in who they are. And so I wrote this book really like, if you look at the book, it's like, I wrote the book that I thought kids would need right now, where it celebrates their differences. But also I wrote the book that I wish I had growing up. I grew up reading so many amazing books like the Ramona Quimby books, or the Babysitters Club. And I just never saw a lot of representation in terms of like Asian protagonists, like right on the cover of a book. And so kids absorb the messages, that they see ahead in front of them. They see the pictures in a picture book and they think like, wow, if I look like this and I can be in a book, I'm important too. I'm beautiful too. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just wanted to write a book for like little Eva, I guess, like 5-year-old Eva who didn't have books like this growing up.
I love that so much. And as I said, I thought that it was the way that you chose to really get the empowerment message across in this book was really well done. Just as an adult, I felt empowered reading it. So I love that you have that message. And also at the end that you wrote about, a fear that you had for your parents and their safety, but also this book being kind of like a love letter to your parents' journey to America. A child.
Yes, he's not supposed to be here. Hey, Tao Tao, say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
If it makes you feel any better, Katherine, he did this to Barack Obama too. When he
Oh,
when I did a live interview with him, go back outside.
great company.
Yeah, he basically he screamed at President Obama. He screamed, "I don't want to be president," and then he left the interview. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be telling that story until at your wedding one day.
Yeah, love the honesty. But you were also writing just at the end of your book just about how this is also a love letter to your parents' journey to America, and talked a little bit about your childhood and you coming here, which you just touched on, but also you said that there was a sting of otherness that you felt as a child. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of parents relate to that and also, worry about that for their own kids, and why this book I think is so great because it really touches on that.
Thank you. So I think being bullied is a universal experience, and I think everyone at some point in their lives has felt like the only fill in the blank, the only woman in the room, the only girl in the room, the only girl playing this one sport, and felt different from others. And for me, writing this book was so important because that message of self-confidence and that message of accepting who you are is one that I wish I had learned earlier. I mean, I don't know about you, Katherine, when did you feel comfortable in your own skin and truly confident in who you are?
Definitely as I got older, for sure, I would say probably when I graduated college in my probably mid 20s. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
and some kids are born that way, right? There are some kids who are 5 years old and they grow up and they're like, this is who I am who I am. For me, I would say it took until my 30s. And I look at my parents who are immigrants, I'm a first generation American. And I learned so much about who I am, my work ethic, how I represent myself through them. And so I wrote this letter, this book, I call it a love letter to my parents and to the experience where I just I wanted to kind of explain what it felt like, even now I speak Chinese to my parents primarily. Even now my parents will text me and be like, oh, can you go to the drugstore and pick this up for us? Because they don't feel confident in their language. And so there's one line in this book where the narration is saying you, my child, are you are our teacher and translator, where the roles are reversed, where the kids are kind of teaching the parents. I feel like that quite frequently with my parents, but I know how much they gave and sacrificed for me and my brother as well. So I just really wanted to kind of crystallize that in a book. And I was so nervous actually to give the book to my parents for that reason. It's so funny that I was just so nervous because I was worried that they wouldn't like the book. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm going to give you this book. I personally really love it. If you don't like it, please, Mom, please don't tell me. Because I was like, it will literally break my heart if you do not like this book, because I wrote this book for you guys to thank you because I love you. And they were like, okay. And then 3 days passed, and then my mom texted and was like, we do like the book. We hope it's a bestseller. And I was like, okay, that was a very muted response, but thank you. Thank you for that validation. Because my parents weren't overly emotional. I don't know, emotionally open growing up. They're much more quiet and stoic. And so I don't know. I just like every kid crave approval.
Yeah, no, I think we do, no matter our age, crave our parents' approval. So that's such a sweet.
Totally.
When it comes to just, raising your own children, you had a baby. How old is your youngest now? 9 months old?
He is 8 months old, which you can see. Remember these like baby hairs that you get after you have
And
a
do I remember
baby?
that? I see them every morning.
No. Okay, your
They're
hair looks
growing back.
glorious. You have like a glorious mane of hair that I am like super jealous of. And my hair, it's like it sticks out like this. So I have an 8 month old and I hope my hair like, you know, grows back soon. Really
Yeah,
painful.
but how is I mean, just being, you have three kids. How has it been just doing all that you do and being a working mom? It was like one of the top questions of people just, you know, asking questions to you of, you know, how you do it all. You're traveling around, you have your three kids and a baby and postpartum hair.
Oh my God,
We're-
postpartum hair. That takes postpartum hair takes up the most time, Catherine.
It does.
I don't know. So I work full time at Instagram,
Mhm.
which is why it's embarrassing that my Instagram live keeps like coming in and out. I'm like, I work at Instagram. We should fix this. Um, but I don't know. I feel like I give myself a lot of reminders. Like Google Calendar is my best friend, where I literally remind myself, like if there's a play date, I not only like send a notification the day before. There's one 30 minutes before, there's one 60 minutes before, and then I snooze it so the email comes back to me like an hour before. So constant reminders. I think like I also, especially with my third kid, have just become comfortable with the fact that things like balls are going to drop. Like that
Mhm.
I'm not going to, like there's always going to be, there's like one corner of my bedroom that I'm looking over at right now where I'm like, there will always be a pile of like stuff that I need to go through there. That pile has been there since like 1942, before I was born, basically. I'm gonna get to it one day, but right now I just have to like be okay with that. And I think that's been the biggest lesson of motherhood for me is basically like learning that like there will not always be a system for everything. You cannot always control everything, and that like sometimes you just have to like lean back and be like everything's going to be okay and we'll figure it out. And so that has been a very like hard journey for me, not gonna lie, to like
Yeah.
get to that point because I am not uh, a type B person. I'll put it that way. So it's been
Yeah.
a path. It's self-discovery.
Yeah, but would you say that that happened more so when you had your third versus the other two?
I think the third definitely just tipped us over the edge, but the second one, my son, who was the one who ran in, Tao
Yeah.
ran in and like kind of like gave me a cuddle and then like darted back out. But I think he really like taught me that the most because he's incredibly active. He's very physical. He's like, oh, he's the one where I'm always like, it's so quiet in this apartment. Like, what is going on? Where's Tao? You know? And so I think he kind of like helped me with that the most. And I think kids teach us lessons as adults and as parents. And that's one of their jobs is to teach us as parents lessons and teach us patience. And so I would say the transition from one to two really killed me. And the transition from two to three, weirdly, has not been as bad, but I don't know if I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on that one.
I feel like most parents say the transition from two to three is kind of like after you have two, there isn't really a transition, but the transition from one to two feels like it's the most
It's
jarring.
huge. It's huge. Yeah, it's a really big one, especially depending on the age difference, I think, because I had two right like 2 years apart basically. And so two kids in diapers, two kids like basically nonverbal, totally different sleep schedules. Whereas this third one, like River, is just like he's just happy to be like along for the ride. He's totally just happy to like hang out. He's like very like amiable and genial and just kind of like smiling and laughing. I hope he stays that way. You never know.
He will. If he's the youngest, he will say that way. My youngest brother is still that way. So
Oh yeah? Okay.
he's very, very relaxed compared to the rest of us at all times.
Okay.
What has been the biggest lesson for you to that you've learned as a working mom?
Oh, I think that sometimes you have to make trade-offs. You know, I think that I there's that term like that people always say like, how do you have it all? And I just like it drives me crazy that phrase because I think it's very hard slash impossible for any woman to have it all at all times. Like there are
Right.
moments where it will seem like you have it all and then something else will take priority and you're like, "Oh my gosh." So like for example, you know, I'm on this book tour right now and last week I was gearing up for the book tour and my daughter had like a cut on her leg and then we looked at it and I was like, "Oh my God, it's infected." And so I had to like drop out of all these like work calls and like basically like email a bajillion people to be like, I was supposed to be here. I was literally in an Uber on my way to like sign books and I had to be like, I have to go to the clinic to get this. It's like gross, like to get a cut drained. Like I don't want to go through that again. But like, you realize, I think, as a working mom and just as a mom in general, where it's like you're constantly shuffling priorities, where
Mm-hmm.
you're like where you're like, okay, I can wait a few days on, might end up like going forward, and something else might end up falling back. And so it's this constant game of reshuffling the deck in a way. And so, yeah, like I think that was the biggest lesson for me. And then also, especially as my kids get older, realizing that you have to constantly like recalibrate and refigure out their needs and their social emotional needs. And sometimes you do need to focus a little bit more on one child in this way and another one in a different way. And realizing that each one is on their own individual journey. And it's like not one size fits all.
Yeah. I mean, I think that also just like the idea that you're being gentle with yourself in that
Mm-hmm.
process of something coming up for your child. I think, and also just even acknowledging the having it all thing, because that's, I mean, a lot of people I think look at, someone like yourself and you're like, she has it all. Everything is totally fine. Everything is perfect. And this, reality that like, of course, things get messy behind the scenes and it's all about how you handle them and also give yourself grace in that.
Totally. Yeah, I do think most of, and I think that's what on my Instagram I do try to show not just like the highlights and like the like happy things. I do try to, like, if I'm tired, I will say I'm tired. When I was going through like postpartum anxiety and stress, I was like, I will admit it, like I'm still pumping right now, which like is a lot. I was like on an Amtrak train sitting next to like a dude who was like doing Zooms, and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know, can I pump right now? And so it's like juggling it all and just showing the good and the bad. And like if I get vomited, like last week I was so excited because I was like, like I'm wearing a new sweater and I washed my hair, which is like a big deal for the moms
Huge.
watching. It's a big deal if you wash
Yeah.
your hair. Like honestly, I was not able to do that today. But so I had like washed my hair, I was wearing a brand new sweater, and like River chose that day to expel the contents of his stomach on my brand new sweater. And I was like, oh, it's just like, if this is not motherhood, I don't know what is, where it's
Yeah.
like, I was like, I finally made an effort and I feel proud I made an effort. And then I get vomited on. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
it happens.
It happens. I mean, aside from buying the book, and I just had turned to this amazing part of your book at the end, which I love, this love
Mm-hmm.
letter to your parents and also just the explanation about everything. What kind of conversations do you hope come from this book with parents, either, parents of kids who are Asian American or parents of kids who aren't and read
Mm-hmm.
this book, just feel like they have questions or they want to find their golden light as well. I always loved reading books with my mom, and I feel like so many questions come from
Mm-hmm.
reading books.
Mm-hmm.
And you obviously have a goal and a passion here with this book, but are there certain things that you hope come up, conversations that you hope get started from reading this book and families having it?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think this is just a book for, Asian parents
Oh yeah,
or Chinese parents. I mean, I think this is like they say that children's books are a mirror or a window, right? So it's either a mirror to your own experience, which this book definitely is a mirror to my, like, this is literally like this whole book is like my personal experience in a children's book. But then for those who are just trying to understand a bit more, like it's a really great window into an experience. And I grew up in the kind of family where, like, honestly, we were my parent my we didn't talk about a lot of things. Like I could see the love, I could feel the love, but it's like we didn't sit down and say, let me tell you about like this like long time family like legend, blah blah blah. Like it just, we didn't grow up in that kind of family. And so I this book actually was a really great tool for me and my family, because we talked about all these things. I got to learn about like my grandfather who I'd never met on my dad's side. So I hope it is a tool for children, for parents, for educators, for teachers, all to grow closer together.
I love that. I think it will totally do that. And I'm so excited about this book. I'm excited to read it in our household. And I know you're very, very busy on your book tour, which I'm so impressed by, because a COVID book tour is no joke. You have to constantly get creative and pivot,
Mm-hmm.
and you seem like you're doing a great job while still managing to travel around. So I'm so grateful that you took the time today to do this and to share a little bit more about this book. And congratulations.
Thank you, Katherine. It's always great to catch up with you.
So nice to talk to you. Bye.
Bye.